Welcome back to another episode of Arthritic Bourbon Bikers. We're out in the bicycle bat cave.
Yeah.
Lawnmowers, automobiles, birds and butterflies, bumblebees might come zooming through. We don't even care. It's an afternoon. We decided to talk about bags today. But first, it wouldn't be appropriate to call this Arthritic Bourbon Bikers if we didn't at least talk about a bourbon at least some point.
Yeah.
This is a bourbon you acquired, dropped at my location for us to try. Has yet to be sampled.
Yep. Local.
This is a local distillery, Dogmaster Distillers, and this is their
Bourbon.
bourbon.
Yep.
It's a 90 proof, made right here in Columbia, Missouri.
Yep.
Now, I prefer to drink this over ice. You might not.
No, that's perfect.
You might want it.
That's a
you might want
generous
it neat.
Planet-sized
It's a big
piece
cube.
of ice. Yeah. And this distillery, like some of the others now, have, oh, it smells good. Huh?
It does.
They've started making hand sanitizer
That's
during,
right.
during this pandemic.
They have. They switched over, made a bunch of hand sanitizer, and they're helping out the cause.
Yep. So hats off. Oh, and look,
Yeah, look at that.
Dogmaster
hat even. Yeah. So we thought it'd be good to do an episode and talk about bicycle bags. We might start a series on this because we've got several different bags over a period of time that are coming in that we're not only we want to test, but also that we want to use and see how they work out, that we've been intrigued by. So that, but those take time. Because some of these are custom made or small batch made. Plus, with the COVID stuff going on, everything's jacked up.
Yeah.
Productions, shipping, all that stuff. In fact, some of the things I've ordered recently, one of the ones I ordered today actually was a product, and it said that it wouldn't ship for 10 days, potentially, up to 10 days because of the COVID stuff and UPS and all that. Some things are going out faster, but anyway, we've got some more bags coming in. But today, let's talk about this little jewel. Tell us the name of this.
Fabio's chest. This is not the large. This is, I guess, what they call a medium, I suppose.
It's a medium. Now, the background on this a little bit. Ultra Romance, Ronnie,
Yeah. Yeah.
is the guy who originally came up with this thing. Is that right?
That's what I understand, yeah.
So the story I know about from reading on his website is that this guy decided he wanted to make some bags and some different things. For him, it kind of started out, he's kind of a tall, skinny guy. He started going to these big, wide handlebars.
Really wide drop bars, yeah.
Yeah, he calls it the towel rack.
Towel rack, yeah.
He's got these super wide handlebars, so he wanted a bag to go kind of along with that same idea, and that's where this kind of started a little bit, I think. So the one you've got, like he started out making stuff out of canvas, is that right?
Yeah, Cordura, I think is the material.
That's right.
Yep.
And this one, though, this is made out of X-Pack.
Yeah.
So there are still options, right? But Ronnie's program or system is a lot like some of these small batch creators we talked about, whether it be Bags by Bird or any of those guys. They only make a limited quantity. Some of them only do, only take a certain number of orders, or they have certain time cycles. Now, Ronnie has switched. He doesn't make these himself. Now, these are made by Swift Industries, right? So he kind of has to wait for their production cycle. They're out on the left coast, and that is kind of one of the hotbeds. So they were kind of slowed down their production and all that stuff. So Swift Industries hasn't been putting out any new bags either. So Ronnie's production was supposed to happen in April for these. You bought this a while ago, but he was going to have another batch of these run out in April, but everything's kind of been put on hold. So I don't know when Ronnie's going to be putting more of these out. But let's talk a little bit about this. What was it about this that caught your attention?
Well, it just seems versatile, and it's big. I call it spacious, capacious, and palatial. And these side pouches are bigger than some others, and you actually can squeeze them in. But that's it, because it was big. It seemed versatile based on what I saw online, and waterproof material, which is a big thing for me.
Right. And this is the type of a bag, saddle bag, if you want to call it that can be placed on the handlebars or on the back of the bike.
Yep, and I've used it both ways now.
just kind of to get a view of this, on the back side of this is some pretty serious Velcroage, which can go around handlebars. There's a reinforcement in here.
Yeah, a little dowel or something in there.
Some kind of a stiffener piece in here. And then down here, there's some loops and some different things where you can tie things to your head tube or use for other things. This Velcro is pretty long.
Yeah.
There's also some loops here that are sewn in.
Yeah.
So you can daisy chain off stuff there if you want to. But it's an interesting sort of, not uncommon, this is pretty common actually. It's an interesting way to be able to be versatile and attached to handlebars or attached to the back of your seat or whatever.
Yep.
So that's a nice function. You've got this...
yeah, I put a cargo net on the front because I always shove my helmet under there or whatever. You see I have these carabiners or S-beaners that are just nice to hang something, whether it's a cup that I don't actually have right now, hats. I've hung all kinds of nonsense on here. I have them all over.
So the front of this is sewn with those same, places where you can hook additional things on. Lots of stuff there. What's interesting about these side pockets, and these are pretty big. Like you were saying, they're spacious. You weren't lying.
Yeah.
They also they have sort of a double closure system, so you can they're Velcro, and on top of that, there's a buckle.
Yeah, buckle, and if you don't have anything in them, you can cinch it down and keep it pretty flat.
Yeah, so you can really cinch this thing down, and this would fit between drop bars without a problem.
Easily,
if the side pockets are kind of squeezed in pretty well, and even with these out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So, do you know what the capacity of this is, by chance?
Gosh, I can't recall. Now I've looked at so many.
Yeah. It's big though.
Yeah, it's nice. And now there's a dowel underneath too. I forgot to mention.
Yeah, there's a dowel underneath, so that adds some stiffness under the bottom, and also if you set it on a rack or something, it gives it some stability.
Yeah.
And also down there on the bottom, there's some more of these sewn in, tie down points and loops where you can.
Yeah, so it makes it such you can put it anywhere on the bike and really find a way to anchor it.
Right.
So it's not flopping around. Now there's this and it's double closure in the main part too. You sort of cinch it down here.
Yeah. So this is like if you've seen backpacks with the roll top style enclosure, you can see this thing goes way tall.
It's ginormous.
I mean, that's a good probably 1.5 feet deep. And then you can roll the top. It has a light colored, gray colored liner that helps you be able to see things. It brightens it up, the interior.
And it's translucent too. This outside is not very bright either, so it's a little bit of light that gets in there during the day when you're fishing around.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about this this ingenious flap.
This is a marvel, I'd say. So, you can clamp it this way, but if you have it really full and loaded up, then this part opens up, and then the flap becomes even bigger.
So for those listening who aren't seeing the video of this, basically the flap kind of folds in half and snaps down when you don't need it, and then when you need additional space, you can unsnap that. You've got more buckles here.
Yep.
And then you can snap it on there. These buckles also will come out. So they've got slits in them, so you can move them up if you need to.
Up the chain there, the daisy chain.
Yeah, up the daisy chains.
Yep.
But the nice thing about this is, number one, you fill it up to here, to the top. You got plenty of flap to go over the top.
Yep, and these will wrap right around. In fact, I have messed with this because when we travel, bike, whatever, we work remotely. So there's always electronics. The iPad will fit anywhere, but I have shoved in here a laptop, and the case is about this wide. And I've put that thing in here, and this will still roll over and buckle here, loosen this so that you have almost twice the length flap, and it'll contain it.
I guess the other thing that you could do too is if this is rolled down and you have something that you want to store on top of here, I use the example being the camera guy of a tripod, but you could put a tent if it was up, anything else, you could set it on here. This could go over the top.
Sleeping roll,
Sleeping roll, bed roll. This could go over the top to hold it in there. And you can use it just as a a method to store or hold things as well.
Yep. I think I've done that. I think I've tried the tent poles.
Yeah.
Something. You do have to have a mechanism there to keep things from sliding out. If you're doing anything like that resembles single track or a lot of jostling around, things will come out if you don't have a way to. So you can loop something around, hook it to these daisy chains, and still keep it anchored for the most part. So I found this to be a very versatile bag. I've used it for all the bike packing I've done. I've usually put it on the front. I've just been messing around with this on the back, anchored by the little loops on the back of the Brook saddle.
Yeah.
These little voile straps. Usually put a dowel here, but I've chosen something a little bit bigger, just some PVC pipe.
Show us how that kind of goes on there, or how you kind of set that up. Maybe we can get it so the camera.
There are a
can
couple
sort of
ways to do it. You don't have to use one. You could use these daisy chains and just take these voile straps and put them through the seat loops up in there. But then to me, I've got this Velcro and I don't want to just kind of hang it around. So what I've done is I've taken these red straps are on the seat now, and you can double wrap them, get them pretty tight because they're nice and stretchy. These the tiny ones that I ordered. Mm-hmm. Then what you do is I sort of double fold the Velcro because I'm not doing anything crazy at the moment, going through logging trails or anything, and then I just wrap that down there. And what I did discover on a really long ride the other day with this under the seat, and I discovered that this wooden dowel rod was poking me on both sides of the caboose.
Oh, so you wanted something that was a little longer.
Yeah, so I wanted something longer. I've gone longer, just as wide as my arse. Yeah. So that I wasn't just getting.
So this is just some PVC pipe with a couple of ends on it.
Yeah.
And then and that gives you something that's nice and soft and rounded.
Yeah. And then I thought, honestly, if I'm going on some long trip, I've really thought about this a fair bit. You could store some spokes in here. That's kind of what I had in mind eventually.
Yep.
Replacement spokes. Going that long trip next year, we'll see. Probably need some. Or whatever. You want contraband in there, shove it in there.
Well, I remember seeing Ronnie said you could use the dowel or any stick. Like see him, he finds like a piece of stick of any kind and puts in there and uses it.
Yeah, just something that's relatively straight.
Yeah.
Shove it in there, yeah.
And how was that on the back of the bike, cooked to the seat like that?
It's been pretty good. Been pretty good. I've liked it. And the other thing that happens, you might realize, is this little loop here, you can take a strap and attach it to the back of the seat post, whatever. But the other thing that I find is I have that salsa rack back there. And so what I'll do is I'll just run this through the rack up here and then tighten it. So then I don't get as much wag,
And part keeps it from bouncing as much.
And you want it to keep the sway a little bit too, because you will move a little bit depending on what you're doing. So this really does, it tightens down pretty well. So it'll, it does really well. And it seems a little more natural there on the back. It certainly works on the front. I used it for a long time on the front. But I got to where I wanted less up there, so I started moving it to the back. I
was going to look it up here and see if I could see how many liters it was or how big it was. Do you remember what the cost of this was, by chance?
It was north of 200, I think. It's been a while. I've forgotten because I've used it a ton. I'm really happy with this bag.
So the large is $280. He just lists large and small, so maybe this is considered a small.
Yeah. Okay.
Trying to see. I don't know if he lists how many liters it is, but in size. Side pockets, it says 40 ounces.
These are generous. I'm telling you,
they're big though. Yeah, I mean they're good sized. Yeah, this X-Pack material, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. This stuff's similar to, reminds me of Dyneema, if everybody's familiar with Dyneema, or it used to be called Cuban fiber. People were using it for backpacks, but the problem they had with Dyneema and Cuban fiber was it doesn't wear quite as well as X-Pack. X-Pack has the same kind of waterproofness as the Dyneema. It's not quite as lightweight, but it wears better, and that's the thing. For bicycle stuff, the reason everybody uses X-Pack is because it's going to rub on stuff, tubes and racks and all kinds of stuff. And Dyneema, while it's lighter in weight and waterproof, is, not as durable
Yeah.
as this stuff.
I've not had a problem, and it's been moving around a lot on the bike, on the front. It does, of course, it rubs off the paint on the Salsa logo, things like that you're going to have no matter what you put up there.
Right.
If you're going to start bike packing, that's what you're going to have happen.
That's like one of the first things you got to figure out. All right, when you decide you're going to start putting bags on bikes, you need to give up on the idea. This is my opinion. You need to give up on the idea of worrying about your paint job. Because number one, you're going to be riding in areas where if it's rocky, you're going to lose and get scratches and dings and crash. You're going to crash. Yeah. I don't care how careful you are. I mean, we're not like what I'd call pro single trekkers by any means.
Right.
But, when we were riding, we were being pretty cautious, and you're still going to wipe out.
You're going to bail. You're going to have to, yeah. And even no matter what your mechanism is of leaning the bike up, wind is going to come, and it's going to hit the deck. And wide handlebars, like the anything bars, like the Jones bars, you're just going to hit stuff anyway.
Yeah. Well, and anytime you've got that pack on the handlebar, inevitably you got the bike propped up on something. Handlebars go, they turn. Bike falls over, gets scratched up, or whatever. So I guess I've just resolved myself to the fact that I know it's a new bike, but I'm just gonna treat it like it's an ant, like just abuse the heck out of it.
Yeah.
Just ride it. Put bags on it, just abuse it. It's not a carbon bike, so maybe you carbon guys, maybe you have to be super careful.
Yeah, maybe there's more caution there.
But with the steel stuff and the aluminum bikes even, I just think you just gotta. That's why you bought the thing, was to ride it. So load it up, put some stuff on it, and get it out there. And
like a farm truck.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely.
Yeah. But still, I'll take some time once in a while, and I'll put it in the rack, and I'll clean it off. I'll even take all the stuff off, take the bottle cages off, and I'll clean everything, and it gives you a chance to inspect it.
Yep.
In fact, I found not a blemish, but something on my frame that I didn't know about recently by doing that.
I remember that.
And I talked to the bike shop, and I'm sure it's going to be fine. So they know more than I do. I'm fine. I'm just going to go out and put it back into service, So.
This is an interesting take, though. I think we're starting to see these become more and more popular. Maybe they have been, and I just didn't know about it. But I would call this a little less of the traditional bike packing gear. So unlike, if you've got the seat bag, kind of the long, narrow bumblebee style seat bag is what I call it. Whether you've got the handlebar bag like this Ortlieb with the frame bag like this, I've started to embrace and enjoy this concept of having these sort of saddle bag style, is what I call them kind of.
Yeah. This
is more of a European design, actually. So if you look back in the days when they used to put some of the bags on the bikes, this was more, they were all out of a, more of a oilcloth style material, more traditional. This is kind of like the modern day version of that. Waterproof, a little bit more lightweight, a little more flexible.
More modern materials.
These are fun, though. I mean, there's something about these that I enjoy because it's kind of like the, I don't know, it's like the go-go gadget of bike bags because they can be pretty small if you want them to be, or you can just totally load that thing full of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen you pack that thing.
Oh, yeah. I've shoved stuff in it. And it's almost like I've been talking about randonneuring for a while, too. I would love to try my hand at that, and this is perfect for that. You put all kinds of stuff, food, tools, rain jacket, whatever, and you throw this on there, you can shove anything, Now it's easier to do that when it's on the handlebars in the back. It's different, but it's just very versatile. I've been very, very pleased with
I mean, heck, even if anybody's seen the videos where we were biking down in Florida, when we go to the grocery store, this became the place the bread went.
Yeah.
Because it was less likely to crush the bread. So you put a loaf of bread in there.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
We'd be riding down the sidewalks to get back to the place where we were staying to take food back to the house full of wives and children. And there'd be a giant, bottle of vodka on one fork rack. There'd be a big thing of cranberry juice. Or a pineapple stuck in the other fork rack. And a loaf of bread stuffed in here.
Yeah.
It became like this objective to see how much stuff can we load on these bicycles and pedal back and still survive.
Yeah. Well, and look at how much stuff I had in this bag. And that's loaded. The small.
Yeah.
So if you opt for the large, you got to be prepared for, the challenge of what can I put in here? How
Yeah,
can I use this entire space?
No, it's serious. It really is serious. This is a great bag, though. I think even though even the cost is, I know it's expensive, but I think this is something that will last a long time. You're talking about a good waterproof material, durable, and this thing's built like a tank. I mean, it's well sewn, and we were talking about this the other day, that even if the Velcro goes bad, you can buy Velcro and stitch right over the top of this if you've got a sewing machine, even if you had to hand sew it. You can pull that off with this, put new Velcro on there if you needed to or whatever. Yeah. That's like the only thing I can think of that would really wear out, because anything else on here that breaks, if you broke a buckle, you can replace all of these.
Yeah, most of that can be...
They're easy to come by out there, and if you can do any basic hand stitching, you can pull that off.
Yeah. You know, that thing I just want to kind of say, I compare it to randonneuring bags that are a little blocky, and those are kind of cool too, and they're quick access from on the handlebars. But what I like about this is there is a little bit of some, you see it's rounded here, there's some sort of material between the two layers, like a plastic, that gives it some shape, but not too much, you know, because the things I put in there tend to be irregularly shaped, you know, especially if you're using it for groceries, you know, you're shoving things in there, and it did very well. And when we've been bike packing, I put all kinds of crazy stuff in here, including electronics. And I used to use, when this is on the front, one side of this is used for big blocky battery packs, you know, and various other things on the other side, but it handles that really well. Partly because it doesn't have a real rigid shape. You know, you can really mess with it.
Yeah, it does have this stiffener in there to kind of help it a little bit, but boy, you can really put a ton of stuff in there. I mean, it's for a small bag, it's large.
Yeah. Right.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. Well, I wanted to start this series because I think there's a lot of people who are like us, who are interested in different types of bags and different options for bags. And we've talked about, you know, I've talked about the Arkells in the past, right there. We've talked about these types, you know, the frame bag and the handlebar bag. But I think this is kind of like a different style that gives you flexibility to use it for more things. The thing I don't like about this handlebar bag from Ortlieb is that it's like a sausage roll, right? So you can only stuff things in from each end, and so even getting your tent and stuff in and out of there is kind of like you gotta kind of feed it in there, you know. You lose a little bit of the flexibility of using it for multiple things, I guess. If it's good for that one thing, but if I tried to stick groceries in that would not be convenient to try to do.
Yeah.
This is something that can kind of accomplish multiple things. It just has more flexibility.
Yeah, and is it, you know, the trade-off is it's probably not as secure on the handlebars as that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe it might move around a little bit more. I don't know.
But it's, I tell you, I can't, of the things I've really added to the bike or purchased or used, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And I will say the Arkells too. These are fantastic.
Oh yeah, I love
but
those.
But this has proved to be really versatile. And I think if you had a pair of them, look at that, you could use those as panniers. You know, you could put a couple on there. I mean, it's crazy. In fact, I'd love to try some crazier configurations with this.
So if you're getting to look for something like this is called Fabio's Chest. It's made by Ultra Romance. The website, I was just looking it up, is ronsbikes.com. So Ronnie, better known as Ultra Romance.
Ultra Romance these days.
If you follow him on Instagram, it's Ultra Romance. ronsbikes.com. You can check it out there, although it's not available yet, but I suspect he's going to have, you know, some more at some point.
It's supposed to be, have some production time coming up soon.
Swift Industries is who's producing them now. If you know anything about them, they're a great company, so their production is great, so the quality that comes out of this is good. Exactly what you'd expect from a professional bag maker. So, but Ronnie's design, and he's an interesting guy. If you've not been out there and checked out some of Ronnie's history, it's great. Some great stories and interviews and websites and all kinds of podcasts and all kinds of things about Ronnie. Yep. He's an interesting guy.
Yes.
He's done a lot of interesting stuff with his life. Anyway, I think we'll wrap that up for today. We're going to have more podcasts and videos about bags because, again, like I said, I think this is a topic. Maybe this will be a series we kind of do periodically as time goes on. We'll talk about bags and different types of bags to use. But Fabio's Chest, definitely a great bag, I think, to try or take a look at least if you're thinking about this style of packing or bike packing. It's a little different. I give you that. It's not going to be streamlined, single track, maybe what your traditional single track guy would think of. but definitely it's flexible. And man, you've put this thing through some paces.
I have.
We beat the heck out of our gear when we were down in Texas, and all of it held up pretty darn well. I think we only had one or two casualties out of the whole deal.
Yep.
So if you're gonna run the gamut of pushing the equipment, Ronnie's bag's a good one to take a look at because it'll definitely hold up.
So.
All right. Anyway, thanks for following along. Remember that these podcasts are available on all the different platforms, distributed by Anchor.fm. It's on Apple, Google, and everything else. If you're on YouTube, give us a like, thumbs up, subscribe, all that good jazz, and we will see you again soon. Cheers.
Cheers.